Tonight on Q2, fallout on the floor.
A day after hundreds showed up to protest, today's House session comes to a screeching halt.
All representatives are free to participate in House debates while following the House rules.
We'll take you to Helena for the latest on a story that has now captured national attention.
And a surprise worth $60,000.
If I can make one science nerd, then my goal's complete.
A Huntley Project science teacher receives a national award proving no mission is impossible.
The MTN News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andrea Lutz.
And I'm Russ. Riesinger. Top story, Montana's House Speaker calling this a dark day for Montana after canceling today's floor session, putting on hold nearly 40 bills that were up for debate.
It is a rare move, and it comes one day after 7 protesters were arrested for showing support for Missoula Representative Zoe Zephyr, a transgender woman who's been silenced by lawmakers.
MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has the latest on today's events.
Normally, the Montana House would debate and vote on bills here in their chamber in the afternoon, but it didn't happen on Tuesday. In the morning, House leadership decided to cancel the day's scheduled floor session. It came after a full day of protests Monday that ended with demonstrators in the gallery interrupting House debates. Democratic Representative Zoe Zephyr, a transgender woman, has not been allowed to speak on the floor since last week, after Republicans objected to her saying they should be ashamed and would have blood on their hands over a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth. Protesters began shouting and chanting, "Let her speak." Throughout the demonstration, Zephyr remained on the floor, holding her microphone over her head. A law enforcement civil disobedience team eventually cleared the gallery. 7 people were arrested for criminal trespass to property, a misdemeanor, 6 from Missoula and 1 from Great Falls. Republican leaders called the event a riot in a statement. On Tuesday morning, House Speaker Matt Riesinger spoke to reporters for just over a minute, calling the incident a dark day and criticizing media coverage.
Headlines that have happened over the last week stating that the Montana House leadership or GOP has silenced anyone is false. Currently, all representatives are free to participate in House debates while following the House rules. The choice to not follow House rules is one that Representative Zephyr has made.
Riesinger then left without taking questions. House Minority Leader Kim Abbott said the protest was not violent and disagreed with calling it a riot. She doesn't believe the rules have been enforced consistently, and she called the Speaker's actions extreme.
So I was not surprised that there were protests. I think Montanans know what's fair and what's not fair. And what we've seen is, a duly elected public official not being recognized on the floor to engage in free debate that disenfranchises her community, her constituents.
Abbott said she did expect there to be a floor session on Wednesday and for this issue to be addressed at that time, but she didn't know what form that might take. I did speak to Zephyr. She said that she again feels that it's Speaker Rieger's decision not to allow her to speak, and that she also believes that the rules haven't always been applied consistently. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Montana's first full-time medical school welcomes its inaugural class, nearly 2 years after construction on the Billings campus first began. Today, our Haley Wanico spoke with one of the 80 new medical students about starting their journey in Billings.
Right now, it's not hard to find a parking spot here at Rocky Vista University. As you can see, the parking lot's pretty empty, but that will all change in just a few short months when the school's first group of students start to arrive. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a doctor, that path typically begins at med school, usually thousands of miles and several states away. But starting in late July,
I'm definitely excited.
That will no longer be the case.
It's something I'll always be able to say, that I was one of the first medical students in Montana.
25-year-old Justin Pello will be one of the first 80 students to attend classes here at the Montana College of Osteopathic Medicine. Pello grew up in Oregon, but graduated from Montana State University Billings with a major in biology and minor in chemistry. His family and his 4-month-old daughter have made Montana home.
It wasn't until my interview day that I really decided to stay here. I was very impressed with Dr. Park, the dean. He answered all of our questions and left us with no doubts. He was just very inspiring.
Paulo plans to go into primary care and is excited to join the first class.
That is really cool.
RVU MCOM is a private university. The annual cost to attend is around $60,000, according to educationdata.org. That's just below the national average of $65,000 for a private med school. Tuition at public medical schools is closer to $53,000. Just 13 of the students in this school's first ever class are from Montana.
I'm excited because I know to some degree I'll be able to help build a culture that lasts for future students, and I'll be able to be something of a pioneer to figure out some of those harder things, and I'll be able to pass those on to future students.
But for now, Paulo is enjoying time with his daughter before starting his journey of becoming a doctor.
I'm the full-time dad right now. I figure it's something that I'm never going to get to do again in my life, so just taking that opportunity. My wife's a nurse, so she's providing for us while I do that.
In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Things are a little active on Doppler radar this afternoon. A few storms to our north here, from especially Roundup to the north and then through northern Wyoming. Seeing some flickers of lightning for you around Graybull Basin down towards Thermopolis. If we take a wider view across the state, things are starting to clear out towards the west. You can pick out a band here where there's a disturbance coming down from Canada. That's going to pull in a slightly warmer day for us tomorrow. So as we get into the next couple of days, we'll start to see a shift in the overall pattern. We'll go to mainly a quieter pattern tomorrow, but the winds start to increase later in the day. That'll turn into wind, showers, thunderstorms as we start getting into Thursday, but the weekend looks pretty nice. We're going to break down all the forecast details coming up.
A Huntley project teacher receives a surprise worth $60,000 today.
Brandy Norman is a 7th and 8th grade science and STEM teacher, and she won a national competition sponsored by the CIA. And now she'll use that money to transform her classroom into a state-of-the-art facility.
Lena Howder was on hand for the surprise and has the story.
She's loved by her students, is passionate about STEM and science, and is now the winner of $60,000. Huntley Project Junior High science teacher Brandy Norman won a competition sponsored by the CIA, and now she'll be able to use her winnings to support the kiddos in her classroom.
It's not every day the CIA sends you a $60,000 check.
You have won the CIA Mission Possible Operation Advanced Technology Competition.
And if anyone deserves it, it's Huntley Project Junior High science teacher Brandy Norman.
So the first 2 rows. Okay. On Monday.
One of 5 winners chosen from across the country.
I was super surprised, and I didn't cry, which I was glad, but that's just really, I'm still in shock.
Brandy entered the competition on the last day that applications were still being accepted. The goal? Inspire students to pursue STEM-related careers. And if the reaction of these students is any indication,
I think it's all screwed together now.
It's working.
It's very inspiring because it shows that, like, if I did want to go into something like that, I would be able to succeed in something like that.
This is a competition that the CIA is doing to put STEM technology equipment into the hands of students all across the country.
As a science and STEM teacher, Brandy uses tech to educate her students. This includes 3D printers, coding software, and of course, computers.
My Chromebooks have all missing keys, and you can't run a lot of the programs on a Chromebook. So I needed just bigger technology so we could do our coding.
Brandy made her case in a video she submitted as part of her application, and Jennifer Tyrell says her passion is what won over the judges.
To hear that a teacher is going out of her way to teach coding with not the right equipment, it really makes you want to ensure that they do have the right equipment.
Brandy will be able to use the $60K in prize money to buy new tech for her class. And students like 8th grader Grace Hansen couldn't be happier, not only for new technology, but also for her teacher.
I'm excited because those computers are not my favorite. And like just seeing her face light up, like no one knew about it. And then she won.
In Warden, Alina Howder, MTN News.
Billings often hosts basketball tournaments, rodeos, just about every sporting event you can think of. But this week, a different crowd is taking over. 70 of the country's best cribbage players flocked to Billings for a new kind of tournament. Our Charlie Kleps takes us inside the event.
Positively Montana is sponsored by Yellowstone Valley Electric Cooperative.
Over the past 4 days, nearly 70 cribbage players from all over the country have crammed into this room at the Hampton Inn for a first-of-its-kind tournament in Billings. It's a competitive game, but it's also an opportunity for many of these people to reunite with old friends. Cribbage might just be a game for you and me. But for Eric Locke, it changed his life.
Hanging out with the wrong crowd back when I was younger, and I needed something to do with my life and get my head on the right path, and it's been the best decision I ever made.
The Portland, Oregon resident started playing professionally when he was just 17. Today, he's ranked 5th in the entire world.
Cribbage just took me a lot of places I probably would have never been in my life.
That list now includes Billings, Montana, which is hosting the city's first ever sanctioned cribbage tournament.
Took a week and a half of vacation, come out, and never been to Billings before, so why not?
But it isn't just professionals sitting at the tables.
I wanted to play more, so I could play cribbage all day long.
Butte native Kathy Jo Neff came just for fun. She says these tournaments are a great opportunity to meet new people.
You get to meet so many wonderful individuals, and you get to have a great time enjoying listening to their stories.
You know, you kind of characterize yourself as the cribbage family. You know, you get quite familiar with people, and it's good to see them again.
Tournament director Greg Dibble says the inaugural event has been a massive success, which was strategically planned to happen just days before yet another tournament in Deadwood, South Dakota.
This is the first tournament that we've held of this nature. We had no idea what to expect in terms of participation, and we've been very pleased with the result. We've had people from coast to coast.
And Locke will be among those hitting the highway and heading east, a cribbage fanatic who travels coast to coast playing the game he loves.
Come support these tournaments and help the cribbage going on for the younger generation.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 530 News here on Q2. A rare disease starting to become more of a concern here in Montana. I'll take you inside one man's battle with Lyme disease next.
And later, brain teasers. A former MTN reporter takes his trivia talents to the Jeopardy stage. We'll hear from him in just a bit.